Hey, welcome back to the channel. So I had to make this video tonight while I was still frustrated. Sorry. There's been a lot of that today. If you saw my earlier video on the battery degradation test, we had went to visit a friend in a hospital about 130 miles from us. So part of that video shows me in the parking deck. There's two parking decks. They have 10 or 12 level 2 chargers in the parking deck. Each, like 6 in one deck and 4. I think it's 6 and 4. I think there's at least 10. I know that in these two decks. Great job by the hospital putting charging in. It's fantastic. That was awesome. So we went last week, a week ago Friday. Today is Thursday, the 18th of April. We went last Friday to visit her in the hospital. And what I noticed was all of the chargers were full. This is not a huge city. Maybe it's a large EV population. Bourbonnais, Kankakee area here in Illinois. So, and I noticed, I wanted to do a video last week, but I wanted to get some more research done. So I did it more today, a lot more. So I noticed there was, they were all full, all being used. Mostly Teslas, not all, but mostly. I think there was like a Mercedes charging and something else. Anyway, one person had parked with their Tesla and didn't have it plugged in. So the parking spaces are really close together. You can't just pull up next to the guy. He pulled into a spot, parked, and then didn't plug in. Just took up a spot. Okay. Goofy, different. I don't know what the technical terms are. Wrong. I mean, there were other parking spaces for visitors or whatever he was. I don't know if he was an employee of the hospital. I don't know what he was. I have no idea. So that's why I thought last week, I'm like, I need to do a charging etiquette 101, basically. Just a charging etiquette of, don't park at a charging, because it said electric vehicles only, he parked there. But he parked in front of a charger, and you can't get, that charger had a cord that went to his car. Like zero common sense. So I kind of thought, well, let me just see throughout the day. So I did a couple of searches last week. I went out while my friend doctors were talking to her and having a visit. I was like, oh, I got free time. I went out to the deck, did some more research. I noticed that probably half of the cars were done charging. They were 6.6 kilowatt chargers that were in the decks. And I should have today, I should have done a close-up video of the chargers. I don't know the brand of them. I did find an opening last week at one point. We were there all day, my wife and I. And about halfway through the day, I went out to the parking deck while she was being looked at by nurses and doctors. And there was an open spot. So I moved my car in and I plugged in and it started charging at 6.6 kilowatts right away. Good chargers, fantastic, free at the hospital. They're meant for visitors at the hospital. So I go back today, go through both parking decks. They're all full. I noticed in one parking deck, there was a Chevrolet Volt with a V that used to have the little, I think they had like an 18 kilowatt battery. It was a generator, sorry. It had an 18 kilowatt battery, and then it had a generator that charged the car back in the day. Okay. Very small battery, very small. It wasn't charging. On their chargers, it has a power button that would be lit up, and then right below it, it would have a charge light when it's charging. That was out. So when I arrived this morning at the parking deck, I thought, oh, the volt at 6.6 kilowatts, what's that, 2.5 hours? It would charge from dead to full, So, and it was already done charging this morning when we got there. Late morning, almost lunchtime, at lunchtime. And I thought, oh, maybe they're visiting somebody and they'll be leaving pretty soon. No, they stayed all day. When we left this evening, late afternoon, 4-ish, whatever time we left, about 4 o'clock, still parked there, still hadn't been charging, just had the cord plugged into it. So I ask you this. I asked is it proper etiquette? There was an open spot to the left of the car. I didn't park there. The cord would have been long enough to unplug from the volt and take it to my car and plug it in. It felt wrong. I didn't do it. I wouldn't have done it. But, 2 wrongs don't make a right. But this person, which was not charging, was there, plugged in, and was already done charging by lunchtime, so they had been there all day. I'm assuming it was an employee. Purely speculation. I don't know that. And then out of the 10 or 12 chargers, I went around today in the decks when I had a few minutes. There were I want to say 6 of the 10 were not charging. They were full. One of them was a Toyota, hang on, I'm going to do this. It was a RAV4 Prime. Okay. It's another 18 kilowatt battery. It was not charging because basically 2.5 hours after you get there, it at 6.6 kilowatts, it's given per hour. In 2.5 hours, it's full. So I want to know what the proper etiquette is. Those people are wrong, taking up a charger all day. They're meant for visitors, for someone like me who come to the hospital to visit a sick friend. And I'm not saying they're hospital employees, but whether they are or not, that's not the point. The point is, if your car is not charging and it's done charging, why are you there? There was also another Tesla today. I think it was a Model 3, maybe it was a Model Y. Pulled into a charger, not charging, not plugged in, taking up a space, not charging. The charger's up there, just sitting there, power on, waiting to be used. No place to park. There was no open spots anywhere near. So I just want to remind people that see this, just because it says electric vehicles only, that doesn't mean you park there and take up a spot and don't charge. It also means you don't have an 18 kilowatt battery that takes 2.5 hours to charge from dead empty to completely full, and then stay at the hospital for 8 hours and tap that spot. Have a little compassion. There are people like me. Now today I was doing a battery degradation test, so I wasn't going to charge, but I went to check from what I had seen last week. Same thing last week. About 6 of them either full, or one of them I think was not plugged in and taking up a spot. Just because you got there at 6 a.m. or whatever doesn't mean you can park there and then go to the hospital for 8 or 10 or 12 hours and take up a spot. Just be courteous, be kind. Could be someone that came to the hospital to visit a sick friend who drove a long ways and could use a couple, 3 hours of charge while they're visiting a friend if they're there for a couple, 3 hours. But if they're unavailable, because, again, I don't know if they're employees, I don't know what, but the etiquette is just wrong. Now, there was a Rivian R1S there charging today, and it was a max pack, I could tell. It was charging when I arrived, and we left 4 or 5 hours later. Yeah, we were probably there 5 hours, maybe, most. 4 hours, whatever. It was charging when I rolled in, and it was charging when I rolled out. So even at that rate, it had gotten only 28 kilowatts in the battery, and a max pack is huge. If it was low, it might have taken all day to charge. If they showed up at 6 o'clock in the morning and they were going to stay till 6 at night, or 7 to 7 or whatever, I don't know, it would have taken all day to charge, and it was still charging. So I'm not asking for advice. I know I didn't feel comfortable. At one point, I felt like I wanted to unplug the Chevy Volt, which had been sitting there all day, and plug it into my car. But I also didn't want to come back out and have something wrong with my car. So let me insert that video real quick. And I've just got like a 10-second slot of what the car was doing, where it was at, and then I'll get right back with you. Hold on. So as you saw, the Mustang Mach-E was charging on the right-hand side, and the little light was charging. You couldn't see it from where I took the video in the back, but the Volt on the left was plugged in and had been plugged in when I arrived. And I had ended up by the end of the day, I had ended up parking up on the top deck where this was, off to the side. I was next to the Mach-E on the right-hand side. And then it was still there when we left tonight. Still not charging, still nothing. So, people are going to do what they're going to do. But please, be kind. Use some common sense. How hard would it have been to, if you're, again, I don't know if they were employees or if they're visiting, but how hard would it have been to come out and take 10 minutes, come out, move the car over. There was parking spots all over up there that are non-electric vehicle charging spots, and move the car. So someone visiting a sick friend would have an opportunity to visit the sick friend and maybe get a little bit of charge. Okay? So be safe out there. Be kind. Please like and subscribe. I appreciate it. All comments are greatly appreciated, and I try to answer every comment. Be safe, and God bless.